Hi, I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to Ask This Old House, where we'll go anywhere to answer your home improvement questions. Today,
there are plenty of places in the house where you can get water damage. Toilets, faucets, pipes inside the wall, even the heating system piping.
so I thought we would walk through a house with someone from the insurance industry and have them point out the places where you might get water damage and offer some tips to prevent it.
And I'll show you how to build a tool cabinet for your workshop step by step.
Tommy, I love having all these tools around as much as anybody, but it's getting a little out of control. We got to get this place organized.
We do have to do some organization because it is kind of messy. So I thought today we would build a cabinet that we can mount on the wall. Be 5 feet wide and 3 feet tall and about a foot deep.
All right, you got cabinet doors on the front, and then we
Cabinet
got shelves
doors,
in the back.
adjustable shelves inside.
How do you want to make the doors?
Well, we're going to make the doors out of pegboard. That way we can hang things outside without opening the cabinet, things that we get to regularly.
Good idea.
On the inside, we'll make the box out of this 3/4 inch plywood.
I like it. So how do we get started?
We'll rip this plywood down on our table saw. When I'm using the table saw, the first thing I like to do is set the height of the blade. And to do that, I'm going to use a scrap piece of 3/4 inch pine that's the same thickness as our plywood. Take it over to the side of the saw, and I raise the blade up so the bottom of the tooth lines up with the top surface of the scrap piece of wood. Now my blade height is set right. Now I'll get a nice clean cut, and I have less chance of kickback. Next thing we want to do is check my rip fence to make sure it's parallel with the blade, so I move it over, see if it's tight to the blade, lock it down. There's no space on the front or the back, so it is parallel. Now I want to set the width for my rip, and that will be 11.5 inches. So I want to make sure I measure on the inside of the tooth and lock it down. Now I'm ready to make my first rip. The next thing we want to do is we want to rip down our two sides and our centerpiece. Now our center divider is the same width as our top and bottom, so I want to rip that next. Our sides are going to be 1/2 inch wider. The back of the cabinet is going to sit in a rabbet on each side. So what I've done is I've drawn a line 1/2 inch on my scrap piece of wood. I drop the blade till it meets the line, and that's my 1/2 inch depth. And now I want to set my rip fence 1/2 inch because that's the depth of my plywood, but this time I want to measure to the outside of the blade. So I'm going to set that at 1/2 inch, lock it down, and cut my rabbet. On my first cut, I'll stand the board up. That's my first pass. Now I take the board, I lay it down on the saw and make my second pass. There's my rabbet.
The cabinet has 2 shelves on either side of a center divider, and we want these shelves to be adjustable.
Right, and to make the shelves adjustable, we're going to use these pieces of metal right here that are called shelf standards. On the shelf standards, there's these little slots right here. These shelf clips can be put into the slots any way you want them, making the shelves adjustable.
Now, we could surface mount those, but you don't want to do that.
Right. I like to recess them so they'll sit flush with the side. For that, we'll make a dado. To make our dado cut, we simply stack a series of blades together, making a wider cut. It's actually called a stacked dado. It's a series of blades. On the outside is a standard blade. On the inside, there are chippers. You add them or subtract them depending on the width of the cut. Now here in the center divider to the cabinet, I actually had to offset the standards. The reason I offset them is because of the length of the nail. When I drive the nail into the standard at the top, I didn't want it to hit the back side of the other standard, pushing it out slightly. The top and the bottom of our cabinet are attached to the sides using pocket hole screws. I first had to drill the holes for the pocket hole using a pocket hole jig. The jig holds my drill at the right angle. The drill has a stop on it, so I drill at the right depth.
In addition to the pocket screws, we'll also use some wood glue.
Yep. Just hold that right on there like that.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, now I'll put a couple screws in here. Good.
Okay. Get the center shelf in here.
Put it on the line. We'll put a clamp on it. Got it?
Yep.
All right down there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, I'm going to put a couple screws up here.
We're going to put some glue along the top, the bottom, the sides, and the divider.
And then we can install our 1/2-inch plywood on top of the wet glue. Okay, so now because our plywood is square, we'll just make this even with the bottom. We'll tack the back in place using some small brads.
And then I'll just screw it off.
Let me show you how we make the doors. Each door is made of 2 stiles and 2 rails, and they're made out of pine.
So that's going to give us a frame, right?
That's right. Now the first thing we did is we put a dado in here, but I didn't put the dado in with a dado blade. I actually used the blade that I have in my circular saw, and I wanted to make it on center. So I put the blade a little bit off center. I ran it through once, spun it around, and ran it through the other, and that gave me a dado right down the center. Now I had to cut the tenon. To cut the tenon, I set the depth of my blade, the distance that I wanted, so I had the right thickness of the tenon, and I made a series of cross cuts the length of my tenon.
And then that tenon fits right into the dado on the stiles.
Gives us a nice tight fit. Now the first thing we want to do is glue up 3 of the pieces together. Okay. Now we'll just use a couple of micro pins to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. All right, now we'll slide that panel right in. Now we don't want to glue the panel in there, we want it to float. And now the last rail. Because we're going to hang heavy tools on the door, we're going to use a piano hinge for maximum strength. Well, Kevin, we finally have a place where we can start storing some of our stuff.
And we got plenty of storage, Tom. Shelves on the inside, and on the outside, we've got doors where everything is organized and you can see your tools. This is going to go a long way to helping us organize the shop.
It sure is.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Guys, I gotta tell you, I'm loving this one. It's black plastic. Help me open it up. All the way. Take that handle. Silver on the inside. It's got yellow straps and 4 handles.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Oh, I
think
got
I
this
know.
one.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. This, guys, is a training device for bullfighting.
What?
Bullfighting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now listen, when a bull is born, they don't instinctively chase after that red cape. They chase after cows.
And who wouldn't?
Right?
And who wouldn't, you know? Yeah.
So you got to actually
natural.
kind of, unwrite that in their head and teach them to go after the cape. So this, they put the big X in the middle. You know what they call that?
The bullseye.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then after a couple years, come on, hooray, hooray.
They switch to the red cape.
They're ready to go.
Something around here is full
Wrong.
of bull. That's
Everyone
for
in
sure.
Spain. Spain's got one.
You are full of bull, I tell you. Now, this is the perfect tool if you are planning on being marooned.
Planning.
Planning on
It's
it,
a
yeah.
multi-tool. Once you get on that island, you can use it for a variety of things. One, it can be a hammock. The other, it can be a sun cover. You can use it to collect your coconuts, if you know what I mean. And you can also use it to notify the planes flow. It's an X right there. I mean, if Gilligan had this, he would have been good for 1 episode.
One episode.
The problem is, Richard, nobody saves idiots.
Yeah,
They leave you there.
Well, you're not even close, and neither are you. All right? This is great for roofers. I did roofing for years. I know how hot it is up on a roof. And you want to get off that roof quickly. You know, coffee break,
I think I
end
know
of
what
the
you're
day.
thinking about doing.
You get a sunburn, you basically step right into it just like this. It's all for all sizes, so you could even use it too, Richard. Jump it right in. All right, you stand up at the peak of the roof
And you're
like
going to
this.
jump up?
No, no, you just run down to the roof, and by the time you hit the gutter, you're flying like a squirrel.
Combination of a squirrel and a rock.
Great news is
Well, maybe.
it works as a stretcher to carry the guy to the ambulance. Now,
Well, it
let's
could be
just lay
too.
this out, because this is actually a tool for mixing bags of concrete. So once you get it spread out, you just take the bag.
Uh-oh, look out.
Take and drop it right in the middle. Okay. Tom, would you just take that and make a bowl in the middle of it?
Oh, sure.
All right, that looks good. I'm just going to add some water. Fill it right in. Now,
Grab these handles.
Yep. We're just going to start mixing it together. Nice and easy. We don't lift it up. Just roll it back and forth.
So it replaces the wheelbarrow?
Right. Imagine sometimes a wheelbarrow can't get into a tight spot, or if you were working in a cellar, you could just carry the bag in and use this to mix it right up.
Looks like it's a lot easier and quicker than mixing in a wheelbarrow.
Kevin, give me that bucket. This will be just like we were pouring it into a footing. We'll make a spout out of the top and just pour it right in.
It's pretty good.
Look at that.
Boys, that would work in my little island building my tiki hut. Kevin, there are plenty of places in the house where you can get water damage. Toilets, faucets, pipes inside the wall, even the heating system piping. Now, insurance companies tell us that the average water claim for water damage is $8,000. And if you have a frozen pipe, it can often be double that.
And nobody wants to write that check.
Absolutely.
So I thought we would walk through a house with someone from the insurance industry, someone who sees these claims, and have them point out the places where you might get water damage and offer some tips to prevent it.
Sounds great.
All right, Kevin, let's start by taking a look in the kitchen.
Okay, I guess there's plenty of spots in the kitchen where we're using water.
Yeah, there certainly are. Why don't we start here underneath the sink? Now, what we've got here is we've got, a couple drain pipes. We also have some supply lines. We have a supply line to the dishwasher as well. So there's several places here that you could look for possible water damage issues. First, with the drain pipe, there's a possibility as it's draining that there could be a seal that's not completely finished here. You might have some water leaking out there. So what you want to do is maybe run your finger underneath it, see if there's any moisture. It's nice and dry here. Now with the supply lines, they're a little bit different because there's always pressure. There's always water pressure in those lines. So what you want to look for is to see, is there any moisture, especially around the connections? Is there any bubbling maybe of any water? You're also looking to see if there's any cracks depending on what kind of supply line you have.
Okay.
Another thing that you're going to want to look for is there could be some discoloration underneath some of these areas. That's obvious signs that there has been some water leaking in the past.
And I also see, in addition to supply and waste lines, a couple lines going to the faucet, but then also the dishwasher. And somewhere there's a line going to the refrigerator's ice maker.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it's going to be the same types of things. You're looking for bulging, you're looking for any kind of moisture, especially around the connectors, you're looking for bubbling of any water, things like that. And again, as you pull out the appliance, you want to look to see, is there any kind of discoloration or anything like that on the floor.
Okay, let's check off the kitchen and head to a bathroom.
Sounds great. The biggest culprit that we have when it comes to the bathroom is the toilet. Now, one issue that we have is overflows. Typically what you see there is that you'll get a clog, that'll cause the water to come back up, overflow out of the toilet. Now, the other thing that you have is we do have supply lines to the toilet as well, just like we did all those other appliances.
In this case, we've got a little braided one down there with a shutoff.
Exactly. This here is a metal braided supply line. Now, there are other options that you have. I have a couple here. I've got a PVC. I also have one that's made out of chrome. Now, all of these can definitely be functional for your toilet. Some may be better than others. Obviously, the chrome would be a good option, but when it all comes down to it, there's nothing that you can install as a supply line that you can just put in, walk away, and not have to be concerned with at all.
So don't have a false sense of security here.
Exactly. You always need to make sure that you're coming back every once in a while, checking them out, making sure that there's no leaking there, no bubbling, things like that.
Great.
Okay, now one thing that can really cause an issue is the washing machine, especially if it happens to be in a finished area, or even worse, above a finished area.
Which is exactly what we have right here, a finished laundry room on the second floor.
Yep, that's exactly right. So something that we would recommend in a situation like this is that you actually put a pan underneath the washing machine. And we have one here as an example. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to put that underneath the machine so that any water that comes out can collect here.
Yep.
Now the key to it though is that you want to make sure that the pan is plumbed. You want to make sure that that water has somewhere to go. Otherwise, the pan's just going to fill up and you're going to have water problems anyway.
Okay, so plumb the pan. And also, I guess you need to be aware that this pan's only going to grab water coming out of the washing machine and won't necessarily capture water from a burst hose.
Yep, that's exactly right. As a matter of fact, we have some examples of some burst hose here. This one is a rubber hose, obviously, and what you can see is that it actually bursted right near the coupling.
And you can just imagine how much water pours out of that unattended.
You know, a little crack of about 1/8 of an inch can give you hundreds of gallons of water a day. So something like this is going to give you a lot of water.
That's a disaster, right? You got a braided one here that burst as well?
We do, that's right. You know, no hose is leak proof. Here we have a hose and it burst right in the middle.
So what do you recommend you to do to prevent these hoses from leaking?
The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you're proactive in checking your hoses. We recommend that you change your hoses out about every 3 to 5 years. Now, this homeowner here actually has a manual shutoff right at the hose. So what you can do when you're not actually doing laundry or if you're going to be gone for any extended period of time, you can actually shut that valve. And what's going to happen is if something does occur where there's a leak, then that water is actually shut off, so it's not going to continue to run while you're outside of the house.
Of course, you've got to shut it off, and you can't be lazy and leave it in the open position all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Now, another thing that you have as an option is something like this, where it will actually shut off the water for you if it senses an issue, so you don't have to manually flip that switch.
So in this case, whenever the washing machine isn't drawing electricity, it's not in use, this will shut the water off at the hose.
That's exactly right.
It's also got a moisture sensor too, correct?
Yeah, it does. Basically, what you have here is it's a sensor, like you said. You put it down at the base of the washing machine, and if it senses any moisture at all, then this device will actually shut off the water flow to the washing machine.
It's a nice little unit.
It is. Okay, Kevin, so down here where we're in the basement, where we're in more of an unheated area, what we can have problems with are actually frozen pipes.
Yep.
And we see that in a lot of areas of the country where it tends to be a lot colder.
So we've got an unheated space. They're also here on an exterior wall and within inches of this little single pane window. So this could be a cold little corner.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. So there's several things that we have that we can use to take care of a situation like this. The first thing that we recommend is that you use some sort of an insulation on that pipe.
Variety of different kinds.
Exactly. Yep. You have wraps, you have the actual foam that you can put on it, and it's a very simple process. All you have to do, just slide it right on there.
Definitely one of the easiest homeowner projects that's out there.
Absolutely. Once you get it on there, it's an easy process. You just take off that tape, it cinches together, and you got your pipe insulated.
And this is what you're trying to protect against, because when those pipes freeze, they're going to expand, which can split it, and as soon as it thaws, you got a waterfall coming out of this.
Yep, that's exactly right. Now, with something like that, there's a couple more things that you can do. Anywhere that you have a penetration in an exterior wall, you want to make sure that you get those completely sealed up. So you want to get some sort of a caulk or something that you can put in that'll seal that hole.
Right.
Okay, that way the cold air can't get into the pipes. Another thing that you want to do is if you're going to be away from the house for any extended period of time, maybe you leave for work or maybe you're gone for a couple days, you want to make sure that you set your thermostat to at least 55 degrees. And you know, if you're going to be gone for an extended period, have somebody come in, make sure your heater's still working, make sure the pipes are okay. One last thing you can do in extremely cold temperatures, we recommend that you let your water drip, both the hot and the cold water, to make sure that there's at least a little bit of water flowing. That way the pipes on those exterior walls don't freeze.
Good tip. All right.
Now, basements can definitely be an issue for us as far as flooding is concerned.
Below grade, so there's a dozen ways that we can get water pouring into that basement during a storm.
Yep, that's exactly right. And that's why we recommend that you put a sump pump in your basement. Now, this one is an electric sump pump. It's what you typically see as your primary pump. The problem is, usually when you're flooding, it's because of a storm. And a lot of times when that happens, electricity goes out.
And that's not going to do you any good without electricity.
That's right. And that's why we recommend that you get a backup sump pump. Now, there's a couple different options that we have for that. Now, the first option we want to show you here is actually a battery-operated sump pump. Now, the way that this will work is it's actually plugged into the outlet when the electricity's on, and that keeps the battery charged. Once the electricity goes off, that battery kicks in, and that's what runs the pump.
For how long?
It'll run it for about 7 to 10 hours, and we do recommend that you replace that battery about every 2 years.
So 7 to 10 hours is pretty good peace of mind, but you could have a problem for a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and that's why we also recommend the water-powered backup sump pump. Now with this one, basically what happens is you've got it attached to the city water line, and that water pressure will come down. When your sump fills, it'll lift that float. The city water will come in, it'll create a siphon, and it'll bring that water from your pit straight up out of the house.
And it'll literally run forever, or so long as you have city water pressure.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Not going to work on a well, though, right?
It won't, because a well runs off of a pump, which needs electricity.
Okay.
Now, Kevin, one thing that every homeowner should know is where their main shutoff valve is.
All right, and in this house, it's right here. We've got the water coming in from the city, and then we've got the meter on the other side. And if you had a leak and you could get down here and turn that off, you'd be in great shape.
Yep, that's exactly right. And that's why we recommend to people that they put some sort of a tag on that so that if there is a problem, everyone knows where to go ahead and pull that valve.
Okay.
The problem is you have to know that there's a water leak, right? So something that we do recommend is some sort of a water leak detection system. There are several options for that. One, like this, is more of a passive system. You have to be home for it to work, and you put it down near any appliance that may leak.
And if it senses water, that's going to sound an alarm.
Yep, so that basically notifies you that there is a leak and that you need to either shut off the water at that individual system or you need to come down and turn off the water main.
Obviously battery powered here, but you've got to actually go and shut the system down.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, there are a couple other systems that we have. We also have some whole house water leak detection systems.
And so how do these work?
Well, basically what you do is you have a sensor, just like you did upstairs, but now what happens is, with this one, it's wireless. You put that sensor near the appliance. If there is any water leakage at all, then what happens is it'll send a message straight over here to your water main, and it'll actually shut the entire water system down for your house.
So this is a valve that you install right down here on the main, and then you can place these under, what, multiple toilets, sinks next to that washing machine, and any leak will shut down the whole house?
That's exactly right.
Now that's great.
Now, another option we have is this whole house water leak detector, and this runs a little bit differently than the one we saw before. Basically, what you see here is that it can tell how much water is actually flowing through your system, and if it gets to be too long of a time period that it's flowing continuously, it'll shut down the system altogether.
So it's not detecting water on the floor, it's detecting flow. And will it detect something as small as a drip?
Yeah, it absolutely will. Yep. And the great thing about this is that you can actually set it for two different settings, one while you're home and one while you're away.
So if you're at home, maybe set it to 15 minutes so that it doesn't shut down when you're taking a shower. But if the water ran for any longer, it would shut down. And if you're not at the house, well, set it for 30 seconds so that at any movement of water, it shuts down.
That's exactly right.
All right, well, I've never seen anything like that before, Michael. That's great. All right, a lot of ways that you can protect the house from water. Thank you.
You bet.
You know, a whole house shutoff seems like good insurance to me.
It really is great peace of mind. When I think about frozen pipes, though, I always think about that kitchen sink. You know, think about it. There's always a window right in front of the sink.
Right.
The cabinet's right out there. There's almost always a pipe that's stuck behind the cabinet and always wants to freeze back there.
You know, it's not easy to insulate those pipes when they're behind a cabinet or buried in the wall.
That's right. A lot of people actually have to live with their kitchen cabinets open all winter, so some of the heat from the kitchen can come into that base.
All right, well, a little bit of peace of mind. So if you've got questions about your house, we'd love to hear from you. Keep your letters and your emails coming. And until next time, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
I'm Richard Trethewey.
For Ask This Old House.